everybody, do you guys remember me? I posted here once. I'm gonna leave my absence till the end of this video because it's been over a year since I've done anything on this channel. It won't be for anything crazy, but I hope that my reasoning can make y'all understand why I haven't been active here. So, I went to see the FNAF 2 movie a few days after the movie came out, and after coming back home from the fun time I had, Jesus Christ, I've never seen such passive-aggressive debates online for a movie in my life. I don't even know where to start here because, like, when a movie gets such Rotten Tomato scores like this, or even seeing your favorite content creator giving harsh negative opinions, it could affect one's desire to even see the movie for themselves, or would just take their word for it. But I didn't let that get to me one bit, just went off to see the movie anyway, and after seeing it myself, there's chunks and elements that I could definitely see why critics don't like the movie, but as someone who doesn't really care about specific details in a franchise that has always had a bumpy ride with telling a cohesive story, if a film still manages to have its cool moments in a fun world, then I can't really get mad at all. But I won't lie and say that this movie has its faults, including one questionable aspect that did left me pretty disappointed. So let's jump right into it, shall we? I think before we dive into this movie, I want to quickly go over the first film, as I think it's important to compare these two movies to recognize their strengths and weaknesses, to get to understand where the general audience is coming from when comparing these two. I do think the first movie is better in terms of acting and world building, and has an objectively better ending, but I don't find it to be as entertaining, and a lot of it is slower paced, and sequences do oftentimes linger or drag the film a bit too long. Take Mike's dream sequence, for example. For as much as I understand why they're here to show Mike coping with this trauma, something that no FNAF related projects prior to this movie could even do in the past, I still would have also just loved to see some scenes of Mike actually using the doors to defend himself against the animatronics, actually utilizing the FNAF gameplay. The more notable aspect that will be brought up for the second movie when comparing or talking about the marionette is the portrayal of Golden Freddy. Despite being a looming threat towards our main characters and is seen as vengeful like the rest of the animatronics, no pun intended, however, has a change of heart when coming to terms with Mike and Abby, and only just goes after William Afton once and for all. While we're on the topic of animatronics, I also wish we had spent more time with the animatronics to do more, because as good as their kills were at the beginning, a good chunk of the film centers around our humans more, which would have been a problem if the film didn't have them just moping and have pretty boring filler, and again, Mike never utilizing the doors and cameras like in the game throughout all these nights. The best part of the film for me though was undoubtedly my man Matthew Littler's performance as William Afton, using the fake name and identity to hide his true self while making a subtle reveal to Mike that he is behind the murder of the missing children, including revealing how unapologetically abusive he is towards his own daughter. Though this wouldn't last forever, as the spirits got together in a circle to get to the Springlocks snap-in of the very suit that Afton once thought was his only plot armor. From the cupcake out of all things! By the way, Matt Pat's cameo was Pikachu. I just thought I could mention Hero at least once. Okay, now that I got the first film out of the way, let's tackle this film's sequel now. Right off the bat, the film is already way faster paced than the first. So much is thrown at you, not even giving you oxygen for you to breathe, for you to take in what's going on. Already showcasing the toy animatronics and the puppet, thanks to our random colleagues that were all lured by a new character, which I'll dive into later in this video. The film being open to have the main human characters and the animatronics interacting with each other like crazy, way more than the first film with the classics. The amount of fan service and references being shown, the subtle Easter eggs, some of which could become very important in the upcoming third film. I honestly believe all this is to serve and reference how chaotic FNAF 2 is as a game. To talk about the stuff that I liked, even after all the time has passed since coming out from the theater, the flashback during the very beginning still remains as my favorite scene in the film. For as little in appearance Afton gets overall, this so happens to be my favorite moment from this maniac, as this flashback shows how legitimately terrifying he is, especially within the perspective of Charlotte, with her almost making it out alive with the child Afton just kidnapped, only for her to die in the hands of the marionettes. An event that the general public just puts all the blame on the child, who is just trying to warn everybody about this maniac, yet the public eye just brushes her off and is just instead puts all the the blame on. This setup here, despite how unrealistic this situation may come as, gives us, the audience, Charlotte's motivation for revenge on the adults that neglected her during her breaking point. And for the rest of her runtime, the movie just lets you know the levels of wrath Charlotte unleashes to everyone that dares to stop the music box, the only thing that kept her calm. I mentioned Charlotte here because I want to transition to another thing that I loved about this film, and it's this movie's portrayal of the marionette. I might get some backlash from the fans here, but I'm a full believer that this film's version of the marionette annihilates the game version. For as much as I don't want to admit it personally, Scott's marionette always felt underutilized, with this protective figure giving life to the children, which to me always contrasted their unsettling design, as the marionette ideally should have gained some more potential in giving life on the animatronics just for pure destruction. Hey, that sounds exactly what the movie did here. Yeah, not only does this film have the marionette to be the one in control of the toys, but this also just happens to outright confirm that the toys being haunted by another set of spirits was always false. Just straight up, always false. And I respect the shit out of Scott for spitting at those people in the face for making that theory even plausible to begin with. And that's not even the craziest part. She also has the ability to possess anyone she reaches, and the humans become puppified and can be haunting like Charlotte, including Vanessa at the very end, which, oh boy, we'll get to. This whole ordeal with Charlotte's motivation to kill or just being angry contrasts greatly with Golden Freddy, which is funny to consider as the game's canon has a complete opposite, with Golden Freddy being the one who with complete rage, whereas the marionette was calm despite hoping to stop Afton as well. But this movie wants the inverse. I also in general just liked how much more of the spotlight the toy animatronics were given and being menaces to society and the general public. So many scenes of these machineries giving off putting dialogue to the humans, ranging from our main characters to the side characters, including Abby's rival teacher, who was the only human that deserved to die, especially by the very things he expressed blatant racism towards when purposely failing the fetus. Oh, and since we're on the topic of the asshole teacher, this film genuinely had me laughing more than the first. There were three main gags that had me rolling. The first gag that I liked was Mike's rivalry with BB. Like in the first film, the only gag we had was the weird BB figurine that kept stalking Mike throughout the entire movie. But now in the sequel, where BB is actually real, we get to see Mike struggling to getting his flashlight working by the time BB came into the office. And what does Mike do in return to BB's trolling? He actually bottles the bitch to the ground and is never brought up again after that, which is the best part. The reason why I believe this moment to be the best fan service in any movie is because instead of trying to bring up as a reference in a good nature that would have the audience go, oh, I recognize that or that, the fan service offers to play the feeling of every individual that have ever played FNAF 2 to go like, I would have beat the shit out of this fetus. And Mike did the world a favor because after BB got destroyed, plenty of people in my theater were applauding, and I got a good laugh out of it. I know Scott must have always been aware of the fan base's hatred for BB, so he got cooking and preparing all the actors. He must have told Josh Hutcherson about BB and having to build up with the weird BB figurine taunting him only for his character's performance as Mike just having enough. It gives the audience justice. The second gag I liked was the film's gut to have Vanessa driving through the dark only for Mangle to be on top of their car and have her drive uncontrollably while dodging every move of theirs, only for Vanessa to successfully get Mangle off her car and just have them crash and knock the fuck out of Toy Freddy in the process. Peak comedy. The third and final gag I liked was Toy Chica's consistent line of letting Abby and the audience to figure out what's going inside that asshole teacher's head, which really just translates to her planning to crush his head off without mercy. And when she actually got the hold of him and killed him on the spot, she then says there's nothing in his head and just walks it off as if nothing ever happened, like a complete savage. Everyone in my theater got a good laugh of that as well, myself included. Oh, and now that we're on the topic of Toy Chica, after walking out of the theater for my first viewing, one of the biggest questions I had was, why did Toy Chica get the most screen time out of all the toys, or just out of all the animatronics in general, outside of the importance of the marionette, of course. It took a while, but after thinking about it for a while, I gained enough knowledge from Scott for me to put together that all of the scenes with Toy Chica, more so her role with Abby and her school project, might be a subtle reference to UCN's high school Toy Chica cutscenes. Think about it. The cutscenes in UCN, it's about Toy Chica's yandere killing scheme, just killing all of her student crushes one by one, and to have Toy Chica be in a school and going after a couple of foes in the movie, like the pieces fit together way too fucking well for me to brush aside. I know Scott will never address this at all, but we know you like to troll with us, Scott. You have successfully done so in the past so many times, and I have no trouble believing that you connect references and Easter eggs in subtle ways that we just don't. Not a complaint by any means, I would go as far as to say that Megan Fox as Toy Chica, for as bizarre of a casting choice for the community, had my favorite vocal performance out of the entire cast for the film, as it's very different from Amber Lee Connors. However, the friendly, inviting tone is still a welcome shift from the character. Kellen Goff as Toy Freddy was also pretty solid as well, though it wasn't really as special to me since his vocal performance is pretty similar to Glam Rock Freddy's. Matt Pat as Toy Bonnie was honestly the weakest out of the toys for me. His voice is not bad at all, but to me it sounds too similar to Toy Chica's, and although I appreciate the high-pitched filter to his voice to make it obvious that's not Matt's voice, I still honestly would have just preferred it to have his normal voice with a robotic filter, but that's just me. Now for the things that were a bit bizarre even for me who has the knowledge of the series, there were a couple things that had me pretty shocked. One thing that caught me off guard the most was just Circus Baby just there for a brief moment. I and everyone else in the theater were just confused and were left shocked that an animatronic from sister location made an appearance in the FNAF 2 movie. But after thinking about it for a while, I ended up realizing that this makes sense, as she is briefly shown in Afton's house during Vanessa's dream sequences. The only place where her and the rest of the fun times were created because, well, Afton was the one that made the fun times in the first place, to experiment with remnants. God damn it, I fucking hate that word. Now all I wonder is if her or the rest of the fun times might play a role in the third movie installment. Another thing that shocked me was the small role of the movie's Michael, Afton, and Henry. As for Henry, he doesn't get that much spotlight, but it makes sense this way as he appears midway through the film showing his regret for what happened to his daughter, just like in the game canon we see in FFPS. I'm certain that he will show up again in the third film because, well, it's Henry. How could the directors not at this point? As for Michael, for as entertaining Freddie Carter's performance was, I have no idea what his deal, nor do I even have a damn clue as to what the movie directors, Scott included, are going to do with him for the third film. He didn't really do much. All I really remember from this psychopath was luring the college students to their death in the pizzeria, and his confrontation with Vanessa, aka his long-lost sister, expressing his frustration with her that she chose to move on and forgetting about her past, and tries to persuade her into following her father's footsteps like the son, and is somehow commanding the toys, which genuinely does not make any sense, as I thought it was clear to me that the only force controlling the toys was the marionette. My theory as to why Michael is acting the way he does could be because the marionette was already in control of him, but that's just the theory. Okay! But now that I mentioned Michael's confrontation with Vanessa, I think it's about time I address the biggest disappointment for me. Outside of the Wither animatronics hardly being used, the single aspect that makes me believe as to why the Rotten Tomatoes score is as low as it is: the rushed as fuck ending. Oh my god, what went even wrong here? So the moment where all the main characters are surrounded with the baddies, out of nowhere the Classics just shows up and rips them apart, but they don't realize that Charlotte's spirit is still in the house, now in control, after Mike tells Vanessa to f off. I'm sorry man, that's just not an ending. I think we could all collectively agree that this is just the worst way to not only conclude the movie, but also the worst way to give out fan service. You can't just have the Classics showing up at the end as if this was an Avengers Endgame climactic battle and have us be excited. Besides, calling this a battle or a fight is too broad, as this wasn't even a fight to begin with, since the toys didn't even get to fight back. The toy animatronics were established through the runtime to be ruthless killing machines and were feared from the eyes of everyone, roaming through the carnival, being on the roads, invading people's homes, and committing genocide like no tomorrow. Just to have them be suddenly ripped to shreds, it just destroyed enjoys the fear factors of these guys, especially when the perpetrators they were taken down by are from the animatronics, all of which didn't even have a build up, creating a possibility that they could even come back. Not only the thing that bothers me either, Charlotte was just never given a conclusion as well. The film doesn't give us a moment where she realizes what she was doing was even wrong. Her soul could have been given peace from our main character talking her out. Perhaps the music box, which by the way was never even acknowledged past the beginning and with Henry mentioning it with Michael, but he just doesn't bring it up himself nor towards Vanessa, which would have fixed the ending tremendously as it would have gave Charlotte a proper conclusion in some way, but that's not what happened. Whereas notable problems I had with the first film, I'm at least glad that the characters, more so Afton, got a deserving conclusion. Do you think Charlotte, being the antagonist of this movie, got the same treatment? Nope. She absolutely did not, and that right there is what we call a blatant cliffhanger, and it sucks. The only positive thing about this ending I have is with when Vanessa is being possessed, I do wonder if the third and potentially final movie might give us her turning into Vanny from Security Breach and will be influenced by her family and could be the one to activate Springtrap, who by the way shows up after the end credits and was recently shown with 8-Bit Ryan out of all people wearing the costume, which is hilarious. But yeah, the suit itself is absolutely beautiful, man. Like, holy fuck. Back to being serious, I do believe that this ending might have been the catalyst for all the critics coming out of the theaters to dunk on the film. It is why the reception is as low as it is. I mean, think about it. When you go into a movie or show, you want to get through the whole runtime feeling satisfied with a good conclusion. Even if the movie or show was mediocre overall, if the ending could still leave the audience satisfied, then they're gonna leave concluding that the experience was definitely worth it. But if the movie or show gives a dog shit conclusion where no one gets resolved, and it's made worse for ones that actually give plenty of fun and attention to detail throughout the runtime, then it can leave the audience wondering what was even the point of everything that happened. If an individual believes the theater just thinking to themselves, well, that was a complete waste of time, I don't even want to ever revisit this movie that leaves an open cliffhanger. I can't even blame them for having that mindset, because cliffhangers are just, they're just not cool, man. They're just not. And I hope we could like to see less of it in the future. I guess I'll take the time to explain my hiatus from this channel. It came down to 3 main reasons. 1, I was busy with college, and I still am. 2, I had plenty of important family business this year, way more than in the past, honestly. And 3, the YouTube changes that have become unstable during the second half of this year, none of which I'm going into detail, obviously, as I'm sure all of y'all know has been what's been going on, not just for YouTube, but also just the whole internet as well. And these 3 factors combined left me 100% demotivated to even work on my channel. 2025 in general has been a roller coaster for a lot of people as well, so I'm aware that I'm probably not alone in this mindset, which really sucks, as last year I was much more optimistic with how quick and passionate I had when starting this channel. And as time went on, with the combination of balancing my real life and the site introducing these legitimately problematic changes that almost gave me a heart attack when I first heard about them, it all left me with absolutely no hope for this channel. But I hope that for the rest of 2026 things could go back to normal, and I'll try to be more consistent. And even though I never give any promises that I don't set high expectations to be a well-known YouTuber, this hasn't become a valuable job for me yet, but we'll just have to wait and see. Thank y'all so much for being patient during these hiatuses, and thank y'all for taking the time to watch this. And now that we're here after going through my point of view for this film, what did y'all think of the movie? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Did you only hate the ending but enjoyed the rest of the film? Was the film scary for you or not at all? Did you think that this film had wasted potential? I'd like to hear your opinions in the comments, especially in a community with such differing opinions as FNAF and its movies. Anyways, I think it's about time I take a step back after all this time to recharge my brain. In the meantime, see if we can make our 2026 great for us. Peace!